What's up, everyone? This is Knowledge Nuggets. Can you imagine a world where companies used to give out free cigarettes to kids? I'm talking like younger than 10 years old. It sounds insane, right? We're diving deep into a time capsule of history, unearthing some of the most shocking and unbelievable things that were once totally legal. Get ready to have your minds blown as we uncover the wild, the wacky, and the downright wrong things people used to do without a second thought. We're talking about practices that would make your jaw drop, leaving you wondering, how on earth was that ever allowed? But hold up, before you judge our ancestors too harshly, remember that times change. What was considered normal back then might seem completely insane now. So buckle up, smash that like button, and let's journey through history's most unbelievable laws. Alright guys, let's kick things off with a tough one. Child labor. Picture this. Tiny hands, some barely bigger than a fist, toiling away in dangerous factories. It's a heartbreaking image, but for centuries it was a harsh reality for countless children. Imagine being forced to work in a coal mine, covered in soot, struggling to breathe, all before you even hit puberty. During the Industrial Revolution, child labor was sadly the norm. Kids as young as 5 or 6 were seen as cheap labor, working long hours for meager wages in appalling conditions. Factories and mines became their classrooms, their tiny bodies treated like machines. They faced constant danger, risking their lives and limbs daily. Many suffered horrific injuries, and some never made it back home. Can you imagine the outcry if this happened today? Parents would be furious, social media would explode, and the news would be all over it. But back then, it was a different story. Families struggling to survive saw child labor as a necessary evil. They needed every penny they could get, even if it meant sacrificing their children's childhoods. Thankfully, over time, people started to realize the injustice of it all. Reformers, activists, and compassionate citizens rose up, demanding better for these innocent children. They fought tirelessly to change laws, improve working conditions, and ensure that every child had the opportunity to learn and grow. It was a long and arduous battle, but their efforts eventually paid off. Laws were passed, regulations were put in place, and slowly but surely, child labor began to decline. Today, while we still have a long way to go to eliminate child labor completely, we've made significant progress. It's a testament to the power of collective action, and a reminder that we must never stop fighting for what's right, especially when it comes to protecting the most vulnerable among us. So the next time you see kids playing freely, going to school, and just being kids, take a moment to appreciate how far we've come. And let's never forget the children who were robbed of their childhoods, their sacrifices paving the way for a brighter future. Next one. Imagine walking into a restaurant, and instead of the smell of delicious food, you're hit with a wall of cigarette smoke. Not just a little puff here and there, but a thick, hazy cloud that hangs in the air, making it hard to see, let alone breathe. That's right, we're talking about the days when smoking wasn't just allowed in public, it was practically encouraged. Back in the day, cigarettes were everywhere. People puffed away in restaurants, movie theaters, even hospitals. Can you believe that? Doctors would smoke during appointments, and no one batted an eye. It was like living in a giant ashtray. Think about it. Your favorite restaurant filled with the aroma of burgers and fries, mixed with the distinct scent of tobacco. Or picture this. You're on an airplane, crammed in with hundreds of people, and the person next to you lights up a cigarette. It sounds crazy now, right? But for decades, smoking was seen as glamorous, sophisticated, even healthy. Cigarette companies ran wild with marketing campaigns, using catchy jingles and celebrity endorsements to convince everyone that smoking was cool. They targeted everyone, even kids. Can you imagine a world where cartoon characters promoted cigarettes? It sounds insane now, but it happened. Thankfully, as the years went by, people started to wise up to the dangers of smoking. Scientists began to uncover the deadly link between cigarettes and lung cancer, heart disease, and a whole host of other health problems. The evidence was overwhelming, and slowly but surely, public opinion began to shift. People started to realize that smoking wasn't cool. It was a one-way ticket to a world of health problems. Anti-smoking campaigns gained momentum, and governments began to take notice. They implemented smoke-free zones, banned smoking in public places, and slapped those scary warning labels on cigarette packs. It was a long and hard-fought battle, but eventually, the tide turned. Today, we're living in a world where smoking is no longer the norm. And that, my friends, is a victory worth celebrating. All right, everyone, hold on to your hats because this next one is straight out of a history book. Imagine this. Two guys have a disagreement. Maybe one insulted the other's hat or something. Now, instead of talking it out like civilized people, they decide to settle their differences with a duel. That's right, a duel to the death. Back in the day, dueling was considered an honorable way to defend your honor, even if it meant risking your life. It was like the Wild West, but with fancier clothes and stricter rules. These weren't just barroom brawls. They were highly ritualized affairs with seconds, witnesses, and a strict code of conduct. Gentlemen, often armed with swords or pistols, would meet at dawn in a secluded location, ready to fight for their reputation. Can you imagine the tension, the fear, the anticipation hanging in the air as these men prepared to face their possible demise? It sounds crazy, right? But dueling was a big deal for centuries, especially among the upper classes. Politicians, military officers, even artists and writers settled their disputes with duels. It was a twisted sense of justice, where your life was literally on the line for the sake of your pride. Now, you might be thinking, why on earth would anyone agree to something so dangerous? Well, refusing a duel was often seen as a sign of weakness, a stain on your honor that could follow you for life. So, even if you were terrified, you might feel pressured to accept a challenge, just to save face. Thankfully, as time went on, people started to realize that maybe, just maybe, killing each other over a minor insult wasn't the best way to solve problems. The Enlightenment, with its emphasis on reason and rationality, helped to challenge the idea that violence was an acceptable solution to disputes. Slowly but surely, dueling began to fall out of favor. Laws were passed, public opinion shifted, and eventually, this barbaric practice faded into the history books. It's a reminder that even the most deeply ingrained customs can change, and that progress, although sometimes slow, is possible. So the next time you have a disagreement with someone, remember, there's always a better way to settle it than a duel to the death. Okay, guys, let's talk about something you might find pretty shocking. Opium. Yeah, you heard me right. Opium. We're not talking about some shady back-alley drug deal here, but a time when opium was as common as aspirin is today. Imagine walking into a pharmacy, and right there on the shelves, next to the cough syrup and bandages, you see bottles of opium tincture. It was prescribed for everything from headaches to toothaches, even given to babies to soothe their cries. It was the go-to remedy for pretty much anything that ailed you. People used it in drinks, mixed it with food, even gave it to their kids. It sounds crazy, right? But back then, people didn't fully understand the addictive nature of this powerful drug. Opium dens, places where people gathered to smoke opium, were all the rage. They were like social clubs, where people from all walks of life would go to relax, unwind, and escape from the pressures of daily life. But as you can imagine, this widespread opium use had some pretty serious consequences. People became addicted, families were torn apart, and the drug took a heavy toll on society. The once harmless remedy had become a dangerous epidemic. It took a while, but eventually the world started to wake up to the dark side of opium. Governments began to recognize the devastating effects of widespread addiction and took action. Laws were passed to restrict the sale and distribution of opium, and slowly but surely, the grip of this powerful drug began to loosen. It's a stark reminder that even seemingly harmless substances can have dangerous consequences, and that sometimes progress means taking a hard look at our habits and making tough choices for the greater good. Wow guys, we've just taken a wild ride through some of the most insane things that used to be legal. From child labor to public smoking, dueling to opium use, it's clear that our perception of right and wrong has drastically changed over time. It's easy to judge the past, but it's important to remember that we're constantly evolving as a society. What seems normal to us now might be considered barbaric in the future. That's why it's crucial to keep questioning, keep learning, and keep pushing for a better future. What do you guys think? Which of these bygone laws shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, if you're hungry for mind-blowing content, stay tuned for videos about bizarre laws that still exist. Trust me, you won't believe what's legal in some parts of the world. Thank you for watching.